But Jenny, let's talk a little bit more about the Cowboys. So to me, it has always seemed like a very unique marriage with Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State there. He's obviously an OSU guy, former quarterback, handed off the ball a lot to Barry Sanders. He's the second longest tenured coach in the Big 12 behind Gary Patterson at TCU. And, Oklahoma State hasn't missed a bowl game since his first year there. They've had some really good teams, but there always just seems to be this little undercurrent of unrest. Some controversy,
occasionally as well. Does it feel like we're due for that again at Oklahoma State? Like, this is the time.
Who knows? Gives y'all something to write about. So how is he kind of viewed among Oklahoma State fans? And does he need a second Big 12 championship to get a little more leeway up there?
I do think there are definitely a lot of folks that would like to see Oklahoma State just get to the championship game in the Big 12. I mean, they haven't made a championship game since it returned to, being played in the Big 12. And you look at all the teams that have. I mean, Baylor's been there, TCU, Texas, Iowa State. The list of teams, obviously Oklahoma is the mainstay on the other side of the ledger, but Oklahoma State, even with some really good teams, you think back to the year that Mason Rudolph, James Washington came back, they really felt like that was going to be a team that could contend for a championship in the Big 12. And then who knows, you see what happens after Big 12 play, but that didn't materialize. That team, sort of failure to launch. So I think getting to Arlington would be a huge step for this program. I'm not saying that to suggest that Mike Gundy's job is in jeopardy or anything like that. I think that it's pretty clear that his new bosses, Mike Holder, the athletic director, retiring in July, Burns Hargis, the university president, retiring at the same time. So new president and Casey Schrum, new AD and Chad Weiberg. Both of them have voiced very strong support for Mike Gundy. So I don't think that there's any reason to think that they are put off by him. But there are definitely Oklahoma State fans that, you talk about never a dull moment, that a lot of that goes back to Mike Gundy, whether it was the rant 14 years ago, whether it was the situation with Chuba Hubbard and all the players on social media a summer ago. There's and even if it's just been times that he's seemingly played footsie with other schools, including Baylor. He played footsie with Baylor at one point. Not that that's bad, but it was SEC teams for a while, and then he even did it in the conference. So it's just I think it's maybe not anything giant, but I do think there have been things that if you talk to OSU fans, some will put more weight than others on those things. If you talk to some of the bigger money boosters, the decision makers, I think there was definitely a faction, especially last year when the Chuba Hubbard near player revolt happened, that I think there were some people that said, you know what, we love the way that this program has won consistently, but there are just too many times that Oklahoma State football is in the national spotlight for reasons that make people go, what in the heck is going on over there? So I think there was definitely a time, Barry Trammell, their columnist, wrote about it at the time. There was definitely a stretch where Mike Gundy's job was not assured. And it wasn't because of anything in the win-loss column. It was that factor. So it is a very interesting relationship he has with OSU fans. There's no doubt that nobody else has been any more successful on the field than Gundy's teams. I mean, they've won at a clip that, it'll take a long time for anybody to surpass that. They've, come ahead at a time that, they could have easily fallen behind and instead have made great strides. So there's a lot, if you're an OSU fan, to like about what he's done, but there's definitely also some things I think that have stuck in people's craw and they're not too happy about.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, to those OSU fans, I would say be careful what you wish for when you think about like Texas and Mack Brown, maybe. That's been kind of an adventure ever since Mack left. Now, maybe Mack didn't bring the controversy that Gundy does, but I will also say this, I think Gundy was on the cutting edge of the rebirth of the mullet. Because you're like actually seeing people walking around with it now.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I know you're joking in a way, but the truth is that one of the things that I think maybe gets overlooked kind of by his somewhat goofiness sometimes is that he is kind of cutting edge in a lot of ways. I mean, OSU they've pioneered some things or sort of leaned into some things that other people haven't when it comes to, I mean, even like a couple years ago, they sort of leaned into sleep technology, like how much sleep do you guys get? How does that affect performance and those sorts of things? You know, everybody obviously, and this is a small thing, but everybody obviously uses those giant boards on the sidelines to signal in plays. That was an OSU thing that started in Stillwater. So there've been a lot of things. I mean, even like taking rules and kind of pushing the edge of rules. You'll see, I'm sure it'll happen on Saturday when the offense subs out and the defense has a chance to sub in. OSU is, they do this to a T. They wait until the very last minute, and then their defensive lineman who's subbing out slowly makes his way towards the sideline. It's not until he gets there that his replacement slowly makes his way towards his spot. And of course, the referee's just standing there waiting until they're, you know, ready to go. I've seen teams had to take timeouts, take delay of game penalties. I mean, stuff like that, that Oklahoma State's just trying to find ways to, you know, be at the forefront of as many different areas as they can, because, you know they don't have some of the tradition, you know, that some schools can draw on. They don't have some of those inherent things that, you know, an OU, a Texas, you know, USC, whoever you want to throw out there, sort of those traditional powerhouses. Whether they're up or down right now is another question, but, you know, they're fighting against some of that. So they've really always tried to be, I think, on the forefront, or for a long time on the forefront of some of those things in college football.
Yeah.